Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
Assalamu alaikum. We are back once again with another edition of Behind the Final Call cover story. This week, volume number 41, number 20. The date on this paper is February 22nd, 2022. Happy Savior's Day. All praise are due to Allah. You are at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. Once again, we are back. Please make sure that you take the opportunity now to invite your family, your friends, your loved ones, your enemies, your foes, all of them. Invite everybody right now to come right now to Behind the Final Call cover story. And of course, we couldn't have a show called Behind the Final Call cover story without the editor of the Final Call newspaper, which is Brother Naba Muhammad. Brother Naba, assalamu alaikum. Happy Savior's Day.
Happy Savior's Day to you, sir. Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.
Why this cover story? Justice for Amir, Locke, and all stolen lives.
Well, Brother Troy, this is unfortunately more of a continuation of what in my mind is a series of articles and covers that we have been dealing with for years. Justice for Trayvon Martin, justice for Ahmaud Arbery, justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for Sandra Bland. And each of these covers is another chronicle, another exposition of our condition in America, and in particular, our vulnerability due to the lack of justice and due to the bitter, ugly, murderous actions of police officers and actions that are sanctioned by the state. So, of course, Amir Locke is a young man who, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the police execute a no-knock warrant. They enter the apartment in which he is in, sleeping under a blanket over his head, which is not unusual. They enter, and then they start this commotion. Amir has his gun, or his gun is on the table, or he reaches for it. Within 9 seconds, he's shot dead. The gun is legal. Amir is not the person being sought, and he loses his life. So what we were able to do, and I think it's very important in these cases, we were able to talk to Amir's father. And so when you go to finalcall.com and you read the article by Brother Brian Muhammad, you get a sense of the humanity, the person, the son, the personal aspect of who Amir Locke was. And it gives you a sense of the grief and the pain that remains in the hearts of Black people, that is continually driving us to have to look very seriously at our condition, and to, I think, ultimately, we are going to have to come face to face with some decisions about what do we do to preserve our life. The other thing is this no-knock warrant has been a continual problem. There have been studies that show that it is Black folk are more likely to be subjected to it They are more dangerous. And the mayor in Minneapolis, this is where George Floyd lost his life. This is where thousands of people came out to protest. And we know that this no knock warrant, one of the major cases that was brought to bear was the case of Breonna Taylor, killed by police officers in Louisville. So this is not a new issue. So there's been a lot of organizing around it. There's been a lot of activity. There's been a lot of pushing for change. So the mayor in Minneapolis said that these warrants had been suspended, but he lied. And so now this is the story of another young man, and it was just very important, I thought, for us to present this story. And we had not kind of focused on this issue of policing injustice, police killings, and murder, but and we will be doing a follow up, inshallah, next week on this case. But it just brings us to questions about our condition and the reality under which we live, and whether or not we can continue to live under that reality, or must we do something different. So definitely a piece that we would like everyone to read, to consider. Very painful, but I think one of the things about each of these painful episodes, pain has a way of awakening you to reality, right? It's not necessarily what you desire, it's not what you want, but pain alerts us that something is wrong, and the pain of these families, it is so deep, it is so poignant that it just punctuates the lack of respect, the lack of appreciation for Black life, and how dangerous our existence remains in this country, or how precarious, rather, our existence remains in this country.
Thank you, Brother Naba. And of course, as you mentioned, that this is not the first in this line of murders by the police under whatever situations and circumstances that are apparently in these instances are unjust. But that takes us to the next article. Of course, this
Yeah,
is the story, and on
yeah,
page 4.
yeah. Let me back up a minute, brother. And so the other aspect of this is we have people really arguing and getting into. In order to deal with justice for our people, we got to go beyond no knock warrants, right?
Right. Yes,
Because
sir.
it always becomes that thing. Can we get a body cam? Right? We just need body cameras, right? Well, we just get rid of no knock warrants. Well, if we just get rid of cash bail. But the underlying point of all of that is hatred for Black people and a lack of justice. And so there are things that you can do to tinker with this policy or that policy. But so long as people hate us and want to destroy us, and so long as the system does not give us justice, all of these policies will eventually fail because they spring from a certain root, and the root is that we have no right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that has to be dealt with, not just policy, even though policy should be addressed. But this is how they change and move and morph. And you go from this to that to this to that, but you never resolve the absolute issue.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So that takes us to another example of this, which you already mentioned as you gave or called part of a very short list of the role of these types of incidents. But we can find on page 4 the article dealing with our brother Trayvon Martin 10 years later. Doesn't seem that long, but time is flying.
and a very important watershed moment in our history. So we know that Trayvon Martin 10 years ago is a teenager who goes to a store to get a snack because he's visiting his father and ends up being stalked by someone, George Zimmerman, who is a self-appointed community, I don't know, vigilante,
Mhm.
and somehow or another he takes it upon himself to go after this teenager, and George Zimmerman is armed, and he calls 911 and he calls police, and even when the people tell him, "Look, leave that man, leave that boy alone," he does it. He shoots Trayvon Martin. There's a trial. George Zimmerman is acquitted, and Trayvon Martin is, man, he's maligned, he is miscast, and he is projected as this huge kind of, if you go back and you listen, or if you look at if you read the descriptions, and if you look at what was said, in particular by the defense counsel, this teenager is transformed from a son going to get Skittles to this somehow incredible monster teenager. And it is said that, well, Trayvon was armed with a sidewalk because somebody approached him with a weapon, and he went to defend himself. So out of this, we get this whole movement, uh, um, or it not out of this we get different things that happen, beginning with organizing. One of those things is Black Lives Matter. It sparked that concept, the hashtag, etc. It doesn't really move though. It doesn't really move. In 2014, there's the killing of Michael Brown, again by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. And it is that time that you see two signs, as signs are starting to be mass produced. One is "Stop Killing Us," and the other one is "Black Lives Matter." And so this whole movement becomes known as Black Lives Matter, but it's not just a single organization. It's not a single person. I say it was not Black Lives Matter. The movement was not started by three or four people. There was a concept. There was an organization. So I think we gotta demystify this thing. The idea of Black Lives Matter and that language was appropriated by many people who made it live at the grassroots level. But Trayvon Martin, I think, holds a special place in our history similar to that of Emmett Till in the 1950s, with his murder again by white men in Mississippi. Trayvon Martin kind of initiates this modern kind of movement, and we have seen it, and I would say it's been sustained for the last 10 years, and we've seen the continued death. So this was about the anniversary of the movement, I'm sorry, anniversary of his passing, as well as information about some activities being done. Of course, there's the Trayvon Martin Foundation. We also had the honor of interviewing his father. So we take great pride in having the opportunity to present these stories uh, to our people so that we can hear from our own people for ourselves. So these are kind of companion pieces showing us what happened 10 years ago, and us seeing that we still suffer the same types of assaults 10 years later.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We really didn't talk about what we would cover, but I want to jump a little bit, and then I want to jump around a little bit, and I see on page 5, and I'm kind of setting up a case, um, and but there's the article dealing with Free Leonard I don't want to mess up his name, so I'm not.
Leonard Peltier.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah,
Activist demands Biden's release. Ill Native
yeah.
American political prisoner. Can you touch on that a little bit?
I mean, again, Leonard Peltier is a legendary American political prisoner. Native American. He is a member of the American Indian movement. He has been imprisoned, I don't know, 30, 40 years now. Because he stood up and others stood up to stop the abuses, the killings of Native Americans. Um, and there was a confrontation and there was some shootings and he was eventually arrested and he has been kept in prison all of this time. So now, of course, he's an elderly man. He suffered from all kinds of health issues for years. And now you have activists, of course, saying to Mr. Biden, look, let this man go. He's suffered. You got the age of COVID. The man is sick. Let the man go free. He should not have been jailed in the first place. So this is kind of part of our continuing coverage and our exposing the human rights violations inside of the United States. This is our exposing and showing and proving the evil of this country as it tries to police the world. The evil of this country as it purports to be about democracy and freedom. At the same time, it hides its own evil and continues to oppress, deny, and sanction the murder of people that are supposed to be citizens. If the justice system does not punish police officers who unjustly take lives, then that system is sanctifying the unjust taking of life. And so we would say the system, the political system, the courts are guilty of state sanctioned murder, meaning that the apparatus of government and justice are not moving as they should, so they are literally complicit with the murders. So definitely go to finalcall.com and check out that article. This is what we do. If you go back a few issues ago, we did a special coverage of the plight of aging political prisoners inside of America.
Yes, sir.
This is a real thing. So we highlighted the case of Leonard Peltier then, and this is now updating because certainly he's one of those with the health problems, and he's had them for a long time. Long time. It's time to let him go.
Praise you to Allah. Thank you, thank you. So on this same line, I want to jump to the coverage of COVID. Of course, as usual, we have a few pieces that are dealing with depopulation, the special section of the Final Call newspaper. You want to make sure that you always check it out, as well as with the rest of the paper. But you want to make sure you check this out. It's special, and it's really important that we have this, is because you're going to hear things and presented in a way in the context of the whole paper, but it's going to be presented in a way that you're not going to get anywhere else. This section is so important because, it's real. Many of us in the quote unquote conscious community, we talk about the conspiracy theories, we'll talk about the things that we believe that are happening, but this is providing us not only just ideas and thoughts, but research and just actual facts. So can you talk a little bit about what people can find in this section this week?
Well, what you can find this week, you will have an article about a black scientist who offers and who testified at the state legislature, and she gives a much different view on what is happening with vaccines. This is Dr. Christine Parks. And so she gives a different view and her insight in terms of what she sees happening with U.S. vaccine mandates and the U.S. policy of depopulation. The sad thing is when you say you are part of a democracy, but there can be no discussion and no debate. So there has been a overwhelming, overwhelming campaign effort um, to just snuff out any voice that gives a different view, and not just a different view, but they don't even want you, and by they I mean the federal government and those who support the policies of vaccination, they don't even want you to have a different thought. So now it's been 2 years, right? It's been 2 years. But, and we know now after 2 years, there's some things we do know. We do know that underlying health conditions, obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart congestion, all of these different maladies, or what we call comorbidities, are what make people more susceptible to dying or being really impacted by COVID-19. But in 2 years, where is the additional policy beyond vaccines? There's none. And so you're seeing now people basically rising up, and in many instances they are rejecting everything. They're rejecting the vaccines, they're rejecting masks because they've had enough. But we wanted to present information where you can read and reason with what's happening, as opposed to being driven by fear or emotion or politics. But you can take the time to learn and read, as well as when you follow this section, you will also learn about things that you can do in order to protect yourself and promote your health. So very important.
Praise to a lot. Thank you, brother Nava. And that's just one of the those exclusive. This is an exclusive interview that was done by Sister Charlene, which is a national correspondent for the Final Call newspaper. So it's quite likely you wouldn't see, or definitely if you do hear coverage from this, you definitely won't hear it from the perspective that we're presenting in it. So it's very important, very, very important that you take the opportunity and make sure that on a weekly basis, we in this day and time right now, and I'm not over pushing this, but you really can't afford to miss a week of the Final Call newspaper. That which you miss in one edition of the paper could mean absolutely you're losing your life, and that's just real because it's our people are dying because of a lack of knowledge and not knowing what's going on in this time, and it may not be instant death, but it definitely can lead to your untimely death. So make sure that you're tuning in, that you're getting this information because you're not going to get it anywhere else. So with that part is that I wanted to take that opportunity to kind of cover those stories because of course the past few weeks we've lifted and stated that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that separation is the best and only solution. And I'm gonna lift some real quick, real quick, and this comes from the "What Do the Muslims Want" section of the paper. And point number 5, it says, we want freedom for all believers of Islam, now held in federal prisons. We want freedom for all black men and women, now under death sentences in innumerable prisons in the North, as well as the South. We want every black man and woman to have the freedom to accept or reject being separated from the slave master's children and establish a land of their own. We know that the above plan for a solution of the black and white conflict is the best and only answer to the problem between two people. So just right there, what I see is what we just presented is the evidence that you have a choice. And at a certain point in time, we're just gonna have to make a choice. You can accept it or reject it. If you don't want to go, you want to stay amongst these people, you can do that. Well, I'm ready to go, brother Naba. I'm ready to
well,
go.
Brother Troy, I think many of our people are ready to go, and I think you're seeing it being manifested more and more. I think you're seeing it being manifested by blacks buying land, looking to incorporate their own, create their own communities, and a lot of activity on that level. I think that among activists, there's a weariness now. Thousands of people in the streets over the last couple of years, major press nationally and internationally, a groundbreaking presidential election, an overwhelming election of a Democratic president who was supposed to be for justice, for us, for police reform, for voting rights. But yet, what do we see? Joe Biden, the president, don't seem to be as powerful as Joe Manchin, one little senator from the very poor state of West Virginia. So now, when our people start to look and they're asking a question, okay, so we voted for Mr. Biden, we got rid of Mr. Trump, but what did we get? And they have not gotten, we have not gotten, black voters have not gotten, what have they not gotten? They've not gotten protections at the federal level.
Yes, sir.
In terms of policing. They have not gotten voting rights protections at the federal level, even as Republicans move at the local level to deny and to defraud black folk out of their vote. So at a certain point, when you begin to look over and over, as we started with, and talking about policy and no-knock warrants with the case of Amir Locke. So you keep talking policy, policy, policy. But at the end of the day, the question is, what is the philosophy driving the policies that are opposed to you? What is the philosophy that is driving? What is the thinking that makes it so difficult for rights enshrined in the Constitution to be respected and applied to black folk? See, that's bigger than this policy or that policy. That's bigger than no-knock warrants. It's bigger than voting rights. It's bigger than police reform. It's bigger than wage laws. It's bigger than fair access to credit. It's bigger than redlining in neighborhoods. It's bigger than food apartheid. It's bigger than rampant unemployment. Because all of these things where we find ourselves at a deficit, or where we find ourselves being diminished purposely, all of those things are connected to an underlying belief or an underlying commitment that we should be destroyed, that we will never enjoy freedom, justice, and equality in this country. And when you look at these, whether it's the killing of our brother, Amir Locke, 10 years ago, the killing of Trayvon Martin, the 30, 40-year incarceration of Leonard Peltier, go on and on and on. The current comorbidities that stalk us and make us more susceptible to COVID and dying and getting these horrendous health outcomes because we have more cancer, we're sicker, we have less access to health care. These things spring from a common root. And you cannot deal with uprooting something if you only deal with the flowers of the plant. If you want to uproot a plant, you've got to go to the roots and dig it up and pull it up and discard it. Well, the hatred of black people, the disrespect of black people, the exploitation of black people, the misuse of black people, those are the things in which all of these policies, all of these activities, all of these struggles are rooted in. They're not individual struggles. They're flowers from the same ugly plant of oppression They're weeds that are choking us out, and they spring from that common root. And that's why we have to go to what is the best and only solution.
Yes, sir.
So the best and only solution becomes that which will uproot the problem. Now, John Elijah Muhammad, being so wise, he demanded certain things so long as we were here.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, so long as we are here, okay, you haven't given us a state of territory of our own. Well, we want equal employment now. So long as we're here. We want access to the best in civilized society now. You haven't let us go? Well, what we want black people released from death sentences in prisons throughout the country now. Right? We want to be exempt from paying taxes now. So he gives you the best and only solution. And then he makes demands what we want right now. And so he's constantly, but he's not stuck on a policy because he deals with prophecy. And he deals with reality. And he knows that changing policy will never bring us freedom, justice, and equality. What must happen is the best and only solution, which is to separate, which gets us out of the control and out of the sphere of influence of those who have delighted in destroying us. And lastly, remember, when they brought our ancestors here, their intention was to work us to death.
Yes, sir.
That was their intention. There wasn't no intention about doing nothing else but working us to death. That was the intention.
Praise due to Allah. So I know that was a lot off script for us, but praise it has to be said because that's the final call. The paper is not just given that name just for any reason, and this is directly connected on why I believe it's the final call. We got to make a decision. So praise due to Allah for that. So brother Nava, there's a lot in the paper. Of course, we're not going to try to cover it all. But my thought is that if we could close out on Savior's Day, there's a few pieces, and of course the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I think will take us in that. So outside of the Savior's Day coverage in those articles, where you want to jump, and we'll close out on those parts.
Okay, so we're going to close with Savior's Day and the minister's article in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? That's
yes, sir.
Well, I think certainly we hope that everyone will definitely check out our global international news section.
Take me to a page. Give me a page.
Well, we can go through that. That's pages 13, 14, and 15. Again, just giving us a slice of life or some understanding of what is happening around the world. So that as we look, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about, he asked a question at one point, can we not see that there's a great change happening in the world? Mm-hmm. So these articles bear witness to that. They bear witness to different regions and different problems that portend for great human suffering or have impacts in terms of where the world itself is going. Then, of course, we've got, let me see, got a couple. We got Africa Watch, which is page 24, which is our weekly column by Brother Jaron Muhammad, examining issues on the continent. Then we've got, of course, the articles by Brother Jabril and Brother Tainetta and How to Live. Great. But we got a couple pages I think are really important because what we tried to do was to expand the voices of women very, very deliberately. So we have Sister Saudia Muhammad, who is a professional, and she writes about suicide prevention and mental health. Very important. So you definitely want to read her piece. And that's on page 30. Then on page 31, and all this is kind of part of our sister space section. We got a piece again by Sister Abisayo Muhammad, who's writing about Am I my sister's keeper? What does that mean? And then we got good news about Sister launching a greeting card company. So we want to always show the various aspects of life that our people are involved in. Then we got, I think, a really interesting article by our student regional minister out of Houston in the Southwest region, Brother Abdul Halim Muhammad, who writes about the 30th anniversary of Minister Farrakhan's enlightening book, A Torchlight for America.
Wow.
And so Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad, on page 32, he writes about what was said 30 years ago and where are we today. So we think that those are some really, really important pieces that everyone should check out. And of course, we always, if you go to page 38, you'll get the men of Muhammad who stay in the mission, continually bringing light, life, and power to our people, despite a pestilence, despite a pandemic, the mighty FOI. So we're always honored and happy to showcase that wonderful work of our brothers.
Praise due to Allah. Thank you for that, Brother Naba. So we got Savior's Day coverage. I don't know how you want to jump into this.
Well, we can
we got
jump
an
right into it.
editorial. We
We
got
yeah, yeah.
we got the page two. You want to go to the
Yeah.
editorial or page two?
Well, let's jump right into page 2. It's February 27th. You know, excitement is ramping up as the minister prepares to deliver this message, the Swan Song. What is it about? Guess what? I don't know. That's why you need to tune in right there. You need to tune in. You need to share the information because I'm just like you. Guess what? I want to hear. I want to know. I got no idea. I just know it's a message of great importance. Anything beyond that, don't ask me because guess what? I don't know. I ain't lying to you. I ain't making nothing up. But I tell you this, brothers and sisters. When you have a man like this that gives that kind of title to a lecture, you don't need to be nowhere else February 27th. But where you can clearly hear, focus, and see exactly what this man is saying. So be there and hear what is going to be said. I don't know. I just plan on being where I can hear. That's that. For our editorial this week, page 16, I wanted to really, in a sense, pay homage to Savior's Day because this is a very special time of year for us. And we have now been 2 years. So we're going to be gathering in Chicago, of course, on February 27th, one day, for the minister's message. But this is such a special time that whether we are together physically or whether we are together in spirit and virtually, this is a time that we celebrate. This is a time that we thank Allah for His coming. And we thank Allah for giving us Savior's Day. A celebration devoted to the upliftment of our people, a commemoration of the coming of the Savior, the great Mahdi, and the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians, the Mahdi of the Muslims, Master Farad Muhammad, the great powerful teacher of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the man who, with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, made the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. The man who gave us the Nation of Islam. And so now for nearly 100 years, we have been in this country, impacting it. So Savior's Day, a beautiful reminder of us, our history, our mission, our joy, our blessing. So we definitely wanted to talk about that. And of course, we have from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you got to read this article. The coming of God and the gathering together of His people. The coming of God, page 19 in the paper. The coming of God and the gathering together of His people. We need to know, brothers and sisters, what time it is spiritually. We need to get an understanding of what's happening in the world. Honorable Black Muhammad gives you that and then some. The coming of God. Why is God coming? Where is he coming from? Who is he coming to? Who is people? You need to read that article and find out. And then, complimentary, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the majesty of Master Fard Muhammad's love. Who is this man, Fard Muhammad? What did he bring? Why did he bring it? Why is it so magnificent? Why does it have the impact on lives, and in particular black lives that it has? So you got to see all of that. So go to finalcall.com and get your subscription, read. But this is really, I think, beautiful, these two articles. And it gives us insight, brothers and sisters. It brings succor to our souls.
Mm-hmm.
It encourages us. It buoys us. It lifts us. It gives us light, life, and power in a very dark time. So to know who this man is, Master Fard Muhammad, you got to read this. The coming of God, man, you got to read this. And not only do you read, but study and examine it for yourself. One of the most beautiful things about the Nation of Islam for me, when I came in some 35 years ago, was I was told, you can ask us any question you want. Any question.
That's right.
And if we have the answer, we will give it to you. If we don't have the answer, we will tell you we don't know, and we will look to try to find it. Nothing more beautiful than that. But February 27th, you better tune in, man. NOI.org and hear from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Praise.
February 27th.
All praise is due to Allah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Brother Naba. Anything else? I got a special treat. I would love, before we close out, to hear a little bit more from those who are on. Man, thank you, Aziz Ali. Thank you, Jessica Barnes. Thank you, Brother Mike, Brother Lewis. Thank you all for your support. Man, Brother Lewis, man, he's on all the time. We appreciate your support. It does not go unnoticed. Please continue to support the Final Call newspaper. Man, we appreciate all that you do. I want to make sure that I got to promote and throw in a plug for the study group, Self-Improvement, the Basis for Community Development. In the article, this edition of the Final Call newspaper, Brother Jabril Muhammad, the title of the article, Study Guides Are a Critical Part of Master Farad Muhammad's Plan. It's a beautiful quote in there, and if I can find it real quick, I'll lift it. And then I'll pass it to you, Brother Naba, for any other closing statements. And here it is right now. He says, his study guides constitute an essential instrument of his overall mission. So we can't help him, nor our people or others, if we ignore or have studied and or misuse or pretend to use this material, humbly called study guides. Minister Farrakhan is continuing the work of his teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who described his work or mission as the resurrection of the dead. Minister Farrakhan's study guides occupy a valuable, even a critical part in the overall plans of Master Farad Muhammad. So please make sure you sign up to receive the assignment and join us on Friday, every Friday, 7:30 Central Standard Time. Brother Nama, what you got for us?
Well, Brother Troy, I would just say stay tuned. Next week, make sure you get the paper. Don't pass it by. There might be something special in there.
Brother Nama, you can't do it like that. You're going to have to give a little bit more than that.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Don't miss next week. Okay. Don't miss next week. Savior's Day, something special, we hope. February 27th, spread it. Spread it. Brother Ishmael said something this past Sunday. He said for the next couple of weeks, let's just spread the minister's swan song. Let's make that our daily focus. Not 50 Cent, how fat he is. I mean, he's fat, but, we don't need to talk about that. The hip hop, the Super Bowl is over. People was excited. But now, let's promote this here the Swan Song, February 27th. Let's make that let's make that viral, and let's get people to hear that which is incredible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm trying to hold. I'm trying to get this video that I want to download real quick. So if it's anything else you could possibly think that we want to share,
Well, I think certainly it's important uh, that we continue to support the final call. And again, you're looking at the minister over 40 years now of rebuilding the Nation of Islam, right? Some 60 something years, right, of working for the nation. Some 40 something years absent the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, bringing back a movement that was destroyed by Allah's permission, being mocked and scorned when he started with zero followers, zero money, but with faith. And now you look at where we are, brothers and sisters. In one sense, it is as if the nation never left. Million Man March, Millions More Movement, Reverend Jesse Jackson campaign, the minister's impact on the hip hop community, the minister's working for peace in our community, the minister's impact on politics, religion, on and on and on. Very historic moments. Reverend Jackson's campaign, running for president, Million Man March, even speaking into when President Mr. Obama was running for president, not to mention his role on the international stage, dealing with African leaders and participating in African American summits and world friendship tours, not to mention connecting and outreach to the Islamic world for Muslims, not to mention words of divine warning to this government and this country for her evil, calling America to stop warmongering, calling America to stop acting as a beast, warning America of the consequences of her action, defending black folk wherever they may be found. This is what this man has been doing, along with profound spiritual lessons and bridge building, in particular between black Muslims, black Hebrews, and those who don't necessarily ascribe to the traditional or Abrahamic religions, but always seeing us as connected, always seeing the God in us, always seeing the divine in us, and as opposed to pulling apart, finding commonalities that we can not just talk about God, but that we can manifest God and change the realities under which we live and under which others live.
praise due to Allah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to try to put this in. If we don't have it this week, God willing, we'll have it next week. But we did the final call did a special interview a few years ago, or with Buster Rhymes, and
Yeah,
he did a video called or did a song with Rick Ross called Master Fraud Muhammad. I thought that would be a beautiful way to end the show. Um, thank you once again for supporting Behind the Final Call cover story. God
all
willing, we'll see
right.
you next week. Happy Savior's Day.
Happy Savior's Day. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.